Three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mindful Leadership Podcast. We're here with my dear friend, Natasha Rocha. Hello, Natasha.
Hello,
And
everyone.
our special guest, Leah Solmaz. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you, Leah. I'm going to read your bio and then I'm going to ask if you could please tell us a little bit about your journey on how you got to where you are today, which would be wonderful. So Leah is a versatile digital marketing manager and content creator with a rich background in acting, filmmaking, writing, art, business, and marketing. And that's quite impressive. And I love these skills, especially in today with digital marketing and marketing as such. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
So marketing was an accident, filmmaking was an accident. So yeah, my journey has been an accident so far, which has been fun. To see how it all unfolds. I wouldn't say so much the filmmaking was an accident. That was something I wanted to do from like a very youngish age. And it was just storytelling. That's kind of what's always fascinated me. And I think that's kind of what interlinks everything is storytelling. So I'm not really good at kind of recalling like my journey and things. I guess it's started when I was young. And just being fascinated with stories and like the behind the scenes of like films and things. I'd watch those. Um and yeah, I had a meeting with someone like a few months back, and he's out in somewhere in America, I think, but he said like filmmaking is one big marketing plug basically. And now coming out of it, I can kind of see how it is all tailored around everything is marketing basically. That's
Mhm.
my conclusion with it all. So yeah, I don't know what kind of drew me into marketing from filmmaking acting. I kind of lost the spark for filmmaking. That was 2021, I think. Um, I think it was just a little bit uncreative for me. The closer I got to like the top, all these opportunities landed on my lap and things. Um, so I knew I didn't want to do manual work, so I'd done like manual day jobs for as long as I can remember. I think my first job was when I was 13, and that was a garden centre in Ireland. So yeah, how's that? Is that recording my journey? Or is that a bit like evasive and elusive? I don't know.
It's a great start.
It's beautiful.
I'd love to, like, I would describe myself as pretty marketing naive, or I'd say at least the vast majority of my life until really I started a YouTube channel, did I really have any like full understanding of or of both what marketing is and then also what the potential, you know, capability of it is. Like it's incredible. Um,
Mhm.
what can you describe some of the like the breadth of the experiences you've had? Like, is it like salary jobs you've had working for companies across different industries?
So I've only actually had one like professional job in marketing. Otherwise, I was kind of doing self promotion marketing with my acting career. So I was very much like independent for years.
Mhm.
That was kind of like figuring out how to build my own website, networking events, all the social media platforms. At one point, I think I had like 12,000 followers maybe across all of the platforms.
Brilliant.
But yeah, again with the acting and things, I got to a point where I just had enough, so I deleted all my social media at the time.
Mhm.
And now thinking back, I'm like, oh God, why did I do that? But I'm always kind of like open to opportunities as well. So I took up a couple of courses after I decided to step away from filmmaking professionally. And I remember being in my one of my last-ish jobs, and just asking people. I said, "Are there any opportunities?" Basically in marketing, not really fully understanding how many different fields of marketing there are. So I kind of niched down a bit figured out I wanted to do more digital. Don't know if that's because like I'm actually quite shy, and I don't think people realize that. I think they think, oh, acting, filmmaking, she must be really confident. A lot of the time I don't know what I'm saying, so that's always fun, listening back and things. But no, the last job I had, I was head of marketing for a fulfillment company. So I knew I was good at it because I was kind of given the opportunity to step up about 6, 7 months in, from a marketing assistant to head of marketing. So, and that was both digital, traditional, like organising events, partner affiliation, management, and then a little bit of sales in there as well. So I know I'm good at it. Sometimes I need to kind of remind myself just what I do and things.
So when I did my marketing degree, I did it well before digital marketing. So I was like, who cares what I'm up to every day? Like, why do, like, it's my life's not that interesting. Like, why do people want to know? And I've soon come around, and I think maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe I'm showing my age in that, but I've started to realize how important it is, because it does start to create community. And I remember the first time I started doing a whole bunch of videos, like talking about being shy and stuff. I'd want to get it absolutely perfect, and then I got to a stage where I was like, sod it. And people were like, you know what, I'm glad that you made that little mistake, because it shows that you're actually human.
Mm,
And it was so interesting that was like, it encouraged me to just keep going. And so I find the digital marketing space quite interesting. And I was wondering if you could talk to the mental health of people and how it supports that, because I mean, I have my personal Instagram page and my business one, and one of my friends was saying to me, you know what, you look like you've got your crap together, Natasha, and I was like, you know what, it's not, it's called marketing.
mm,
That is my marketing face, and this is what, there's this wave of what we're wanting to do, and I'm just following that wave. And I said to her, no, it's, we all have our ups and downs, but that's just marketing. How do you, like, what advice would you give to people and companies with regards to their online digital kind of like like creating community around that? And how can we, so there's a double question. So how do we approach this in a way that's kind of like holistic and mindful? And then
mm,
how do we deal with that within ourselves,
mhm,
as we're moving through that? Because it's so easy to get onto that. How many clicks, how many likes, how many followers, and it's quite stressful.
mhm. I think you don't know until you try, kind of thing. So I know there's a lot of creative people, friends of mine, they're not fantastic with it. They're very shy to the point they just don't put anything out.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of recommend people to just start, because you don't start perfect. Even in my last job, like some of the earlier content that we were putting out was really unpolished. There wasn't really much of a message. It was very try hard, copy other people. It's like, I think it's all about finding your own voice, and then getting comfortable with that. So I am shy, like when people talk to me, but I think that's when I'm talking about myself. So when it's like a topic like marketing and things, um, it's kind of figuring out what you want to tell people, what you think you can share with people, like value wise.
Mm-hmm.
This is good marketing, because I've kind of experienced the darker side of marketing, and that was with filmmaking, and how it is all tailored around money, and how you can actually just grab as much money from people as possible, and that is done with effective marketing basically. So um, and I've seen like professionals as well, not just in acting and filmmaking, they've been tempted by the dark side, I suppose. To the point they lose their own voice, and it does become like this copycat, um darker energy, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of that, I think if you know you want to kind of help people, um just try and stick to that and don't be swayed by the money aspect. I think the money aspect is what taints marketing basically, and you see that on social media. It's just become so it's become completely like beside the point of what it was initially set up, which was like to connect with people, to talk about topics of like interest and everything else. So yeah, I think if you can try and build up a resolve not to be tempted by like being a sellout basically, and hopefully these things follow. I don't actually know. So I had an opportunity where I was offered quite a lot of money. I didn't really know what the agenda was at the time, but I knew somewhere deep down it didn't align with me. So that's why I stepped away from the darker side. I call it darketing. So it's the likes of the big the
I
big
like that.
sugar fueled cereal companies, and they know the product's not good for people, but they pump it out and they use as many tactics as possible. So bright colors, influence the kids because the kids will nag the parents, and get them hooked because it's sugar. So yeah, I mean, the top companies, they do have the budgets to kind of do that, but I think if we are going into like the more woo-woo side of things anyway, I think people are kind of waking up to it. I don't think people are as easily swayed by some of the tactics and things. So
Yeah.
um
I love that. I love like earlier you were talking about stories, and I for a long time, like I started my YouTube channel 2017. Well, actually, just after YouTube started, but properly started adding stuff that I thought people might want to watch after 2017. It was just music, and I remember thinking, just no one's interested in John. Like, like no one's interested in my life. Like why would they care that I had two coffees by 10 a.m.? You know, it's like, why is that important? And I since I left my corporate job, and since I decided to leave my corporate job, a salaried job after 26 years, and going through that transition, I thought, or transformation, I was like, oh, I think I want to share this at least with a future version of me, because I'm really interested in the future. I want to know like the moments I cried, the moments I was terrified, the moments I was like walking my dog and I'm like, but how am I gonna survive? And I remember like the third day after I'd left my job, the video is something like send food, day three, send food, you know. And it was those feelings of like, what have I just done?
mhm.
And then yesterday, I was, and this is just so simple. I just have like my phone on a little this is no product placement. Um all phones are available and are equal. But I had it on my dashboard, and it was so driving along. The phone's like shaking around. I had my little wireless mic that I call Kevin, and some people ask what that is, which I think is really funny. So that's strapped to me, and so I'm just driving along for 20 minutes, going to a wellness center where I'm doing my services for the day, and I was singing about the fact that the place is called Naked Revive, which is really funny because no one gets naked. Well, not that I've seen. And I was just singing along, and then so the comments I got on that video were like, "John, you like, look at you, you're singing to work. When was the last time you sang to work?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it didn't feel like work at all. Like I never used to sing on the way to work." And I found that shocking. It's like, where did all my joy go, John? Poor John, for so many years, that never smiled or had any joy. Um, and then they were saying to me, it's you're just you, like you're just being you, and you're telling us what you're doing, and that's fascinating. And I think, just to be polite, like on the video title, I just say driving video. You know, like John driving somewhere. Like if they don't care about my driving content, which is me
Mm.
like a lot for depending on the length of the journey, you know, sometimes up to about an hour and a half. But I love just sharing my story, and I think that big life change for me made me a lot more comfortable and feeling like, well, there's value in other people experiencing that, because maybe it would inspire them to at least see someone being scared and being brave and doing it anyway. Um,
Mhm.
what ad what advice do you have, Leah, about, or what experiences have you had about being able to? Because I love your videos, like, and you, for the video that I recorded just before this, um, I'm sure your style is rubbing off on me, because I was like, I caught myself like laughing after saying things. I'm like, I'm sure that's what Leah does. So anyway, it's a rabbit hole. But anyway, I was, yeah, just interested in what your experiences are of sharing stories, and how people, what suggestions you'd have for people to connect in with their own stories, or the stories of what they're trying to market.
Mhm. I think that's interesting, because what initially drew me to filmmaking was like being able to tell stories in the most immersive way possible. So even in marketing now, video is the most immersive form of content and things. Um, I don't know. My strategy with like YouTube, because it was very much a strategy, that was all about like promoting my acting. I thought I could sing at the time. I'm not a great singer, but I liked playing guitar and things.
You're good. I love your singing.
Yeah, I think it's that expression thing. So like I'm very creative aside from like acting and filmmaking. Like I grew up drawing everything, making stuff out of paper and cardboard like when I was younger. And I'm sure I made the first like smartphone before people made those.
That's
That
so
was
cool.
my claim to fame out of cardboard. Um I think I got to a point, so with acting and filmmaking, it's very like the professional. I don't want to insult people, because I have like friends who are still in the industry and things. Um, for me, it just didn't seem authentic. It seemed like I was morphing into this product almost, not a person, not being myself. So me, I'm very I need freedom to create. That's all I need in life, and coffee, that's that, and a bit of music. I'm quite a simple creature. So the further I delved into it, I was getting more and more constricted. And it was to the point I think I ended up in like a mini depression, kind of existential crisis almost. So I got to a point where I was worrying so much about what other people thought. Um, and I don't care, not in like a horrible way where I don't consider people's opinions and things. I do, but I don't let them change me. I'm quite like good in myself, I think, at the minute anyway. Um, so I think I might have gone off a little bit at topic and things, but my early YouTube videos, I used to plan them out and try and tailor to what I thought people wanted to kind of watch and hear. And I mean, some of them they did well, but it's ever since I kind of went off script that I've noticed like I get more views and things.
Mhm.
Um, and I used to kind of edit to the point there'd be no fluffs, there'd be no like stutters and things. So when I'm nervous, sometimes I stutter like really bad. And I used to cut that out and then leave it for like bloopers at the end. And now I don't. I just kind of leave as much in, mainly because I'm a little bit lazy with editing and things as well. I don't want to spend too much time watching myself back, and trying to kind of make myself into this perfect like AI generated person kind of thing. So I think it's getting comfortable to the point, like I've had trolls and things, and I actually have a client who recently had a troll on her YouTube channel. So I think it's getting to the point where you get so comfortable in yourself, like nothing shakes you. You can't be swayed by money, you can't be swayed by like fear, anything basically. It's kind of addressing your own fears in the progress, in the process, progress. Um, so yeah, that's kind of it, I think. Just get so comfortable with yourself that not to worry about other people's opinions and things, because at the end of the day they don't matter. They really don't, unless you put that emphasis on it. It's very much about you and the power that you give away. So that's why I mean I do have like a bit of an agenda with my own marketing. I'd very much like to kind of combat all of the darketing out there, and just empower people, because a lot of the marketing over the years, especially like the elite industries have been about disempowering people and causing fear and lack and everything else. And I don't know, you just kind of leave shells of people, and I'd like to kind of leave the world a better place than I found it, I think. So yeah, that probably went off. I don't know. You'll have to let me know.
That's absolutely perfect. And I agree with you, because sometimes it's releasing from that, what do people think? What will they say? How are there any techniques that you can share with people out there in becoming comfortable with themselves, in releasing from, the triggers perhaps that we put out there? Because sometimes, and I mean, we do a lot of woo-woo kind of stuff, as they call, but it was spiritual kind of like health that we look at, and sometimes we will trigger people. Um, and that's okay. I've always left those comments or tried to address them, because I feel that everything should be expressed, whether, whatever it may be. But it's that challenge of not, luckily I haven't gotten a lot, but it's like, it's not taking that on personally, or at least maybe evaluating, seeing if there's a point or something that we need to work through. But what are the techniques that you would recommend for people to help them to get comfortable in themselves and say, okay, this is just a comment out there, or this is just somebody else's opinion, or somebody else's trigger, or somebody else's projection, or whatever it may be?
I think how I look at things, everything is very much a reflection of self anyway.
Yeah.
So these comments, they are there to trigger you into kind of getting comfortable with yourself. That's the best way to look at them. From a more practical, like non-woo-woo side, just think of them as engagement. Don't look at the words, try and jumble up the letters if you can, and just think, oh my god, someone's commented on my video, go me, that's going to boost the video out to more people.
I like that.
I mean, initially when I did get like my first negative comments, I can't even remember what it was, or who it was. I don't know. I've kind of dealt with things throughout my life anyway, aside from like digital world. I've had negative criticism, jealousy, just blatant trying to control me and everything else. So I've dealt with that outside of like the digital world, so that kind of helps as well, I suppose. But everything is still like a work in progress. So it's only like the last 2 years maybe I've gotten more comfortable putting stuff out online. When I've had the time, obviously with my last job, it was very time consuming and things, so I didn't really get much chance to speak my own stuff into the cosmos. So yeah, I think first look at it a practical way. So it is very much engagement for the video. It's going to boost the video. They're just jumbled up letters on a keyboard. And then if it is triggering you to the point you don't want to put stuff out, there's something that needs to be addressed. So I mean, I'm not a huge believer in like talk therapy for me, but I know it works for other people. I'm very much kind of like alone. I need to kind of figure out things by myself. Otherwise, if people tell me, it feels like I've cheated almost. I don't know. That's something to kind of like self-evaluate, I think. But yeah, I think if anything, it does reflect triggers that you've got in your waking life, stuff that you've experienced in your own life and things. So it's very much about figuring it all out. And the thing is, you'll never figure out the end goal. So that's the part of like letting go of this perfection mentality and kind of figure out what your happy medium is. Aim for that, and just know if you mess up and things, you're human. That's kind of like the whole idea of being a human. The point of it all is to mess up and learn and grow, and mess up and learn and grow, and mess up and learn and grow. So yeah, get away with the perfection thing, I think.
I love that.
Oh, mad.
I had a funny troll comment yesterday. This is on one of my, I do a 1 minute "Hi, it's John" video. If you're ever wondering why I speak so quietly, it's because it's about 6 a.m. and I'm stood outside our house in the garden. I don't want to wake my son who's above. And the troll comment was, this guy is creepy looking through your window vibes. And I was like, ah, and that's really funny. And I know that they're also like trying to avoid an AI bot like catching their sentiment and banning it or
Mm.
hiding it. And I like my approach to it is I just uh block people. And I it's funny, I looked at my block list on YouTube since it's been going for years. It's huge. And it's just like, well, that's my approach to creating a safe space. And I love
Mm.
your idea, like you're almost like scrambling the energy of it, Leah. You're just like,
Mhm.
a bad press is good
I
press.
usually reflect that back. So not in the a really horrible way, but
Mm,
like if someone comes out with something, so I had to do a video for like my last job, and someone was like, "Oh, this sounds like my old English teacher," and moaned and things. I was like, "Well, at least you paid attention, you know." It's kind of
yeah,
getting to the point you don't take it on, you can kind of just automatically reflect it.
yeah.
I'd have said to
Yeah.
that person, "Yeah, I'm outside your window" or something, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
How did you
creep them
know?
out. That's
That's
what
right.
they
Yeah.
want. That's what they put
Um,
out. So
and I was gonna say
Beautiful.
the biggest shift I've seen in marketing, and I'm a total newbie, although I guess I'm marketing every day with lots of videos that I create, somewhat addicted to it, is that the energy of what we create is like all baked in, right? It's all, and so when I'm sat there on my phone, and I must admit, thank you advertisers for making doom scrolling so hard now, because I'll be like scrolling down and be like, now I follow a lot of singers and songwriters and stuff, and so they'll be like, there'll be some guy saying, "Hi, stop writing songs." And I'm like, no, like just keep going. Or if I can be bothered, I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in this. Stop recommending me this stuff. The energy of, or should I say the almost like the darketing or like the unconscious, um or people that are behaving like they're kind of unconscious when they're creating, like their bosses told them, you've got to like sell this thing, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll be like really excited with completely dead eyes. And I'm like, you must buy this product. And all you feel like is when you're digesting it, both visually and energetically, you're like, I've never met a human like that. And I think if I
Mm.
did, I'm not sure I'd talk to them. And I'm definitely not going to listen to this one trying to sell to me like this. And yet, I feel like when we come on, and one of the things I love the most about podcasts is, okay, I'm a bit of a slow burner. It takes me a little while to kind of settle in, but it's like it feels safe to me. It feels like you're literally sat on the other two sofas over there, and we're just chatting.
Mhm.
And so the energy of that, I feel like people consume, right? They're like, oh, these people seem quite relaxed and they're enjoying themselves talking. At least I hope you guys are. And if not, you're doing a great job at pretending. um, and I was interested in your experiences, like because it's so deeply connected with storytelling and also connecting with people. Is like the energy, like if you have any experiences or advice for the energy of what people create and how that goes into the marketing content.
Mm.
Cool. I think it goes into self-awareness, and being aware of kind of the the result that you're trying to achieve with it, I think. So when I'm kind of creating stories, I mean, a lot of people don't know half the things I create now because I just that's my personal like expression and things. So I think it's um, see, I don't like people creating for the sake of putting things out. I think creation for me was very much like my therapy growing up and things, art and writing and things. So and I think that's kind of what's wrong with the world. They've taken all of the creativity thing and tainted it with like putting a price tag on it. And for me, that baffles me. It's like, what do you mean? That kind of like helped me at that time. I don't really care how much it's worth and things. It very much is kind of like not getting too sucked into the industrial beast of it all. Like trying to get your riches from creating something. But that is how powerful like the industry is itself, through the art of like marketing, saying this is how you achieve your dreams if you create something and put a price tag on it. So I think it's, again, it's getting comfortable with yourself and just knowing that if you're sharing something with someone, you don't have to put like a physical price tag on things. I think the minute you do that, you devalue what you've created anyway. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I think
Absolutely.
it's a big help.
Yeah, because there's power in words, and there's
Mm.
vibrational frequencies that we work with. Like I totally agree with that, in that like both you and John were saying, kind of like that authenticity in really believing in the product or service, or aligning it with your values as you put it out there. And if you really are excited about the product that is, or the service that you're offering, that absolutely emanates. And I think that's so important to, like you say, align it with what's in a, you know, with your values, with your morals, with like your energy. Because and I do believe that everything we put out there will have its energy, which will attract that type of person. Which, going back to making those fluff ups, it's awesome, because I think those that are deterred by it, it's fine. And those that aren't, those are your people. Those are your tribe, your friends, it's your energy. And kind of like how John was saying, like a lot of the times before Instagram's a little bit hard, but on Facebook, before I add somebody onto my feed, I have a look at their profile. I have a look at what energy they're putting out there, what information, what are their posts, and before I decide whether I add them into my container that is there. And I think we forget about that, whether it's in business or in or in life, because we create that space around us and we're constantly attracting towards us. So I think I agree with you. It's again, it's being that self-awareness, and as a body, as a business as well, into what is it that I'm putting out there? Are we just running after what everybody else is doing? As more people are becoming more conscious and aware of this and the marketing beast, I like it that you're kind of like the darketing side of things. I don't know if that's brilliant. I don't know if you've coined that, but if you have, it's the first time I've heard that. It's
Yeah, sign
brilliant.
me up.
Yeah, sign me up. I love it. How, in an ideal world, what would you say this digital marketing could look like? Like, what do you see the industry changing as more people become aware and start? Like the other day, I saw this channel and I thought it was brilliant. This lady only puts out positive news to combat any other news that is going on, any other news channel. I'm like, yep, I'm following you. She's like, this is the good stuff that happened in the world today. And I'm like, yep, sign me up. I'm on. I want to create that environment. I want to create that timeline. I want to create that. So how do you see more people doing that? I mean, your content's like that as well.
Um, See, I think with marketing, it works on like absolute. So it's either to the point where it's very dark and it's like you become this product, not so much a person selling something, you become the product. And then the other absolute is like the utopian, like everyone sharing and connecting, which was like the dream behind social media, I think. And I mean that's like digital. In terms of like face to face, I don't know. I mean, I have my ideals. I'd like people not to kind of fall for like the fear of things. I think that's very much why marketing, and just everything else, like how the whole global structure is. It's all tailored around fear. If you don't make enough money, then you won't have a home, you won't have food, and it's playing into that fear of without going too morbid, that kind of expiration date on everyone. That's what the darketing plays to, is that fear and lack. And what it ultimately means is, like, if you don't buy this, then you're going to expire, basically. Um,
I
so
must
yeah,
admit, I never picked up on that. It's like I have an expiry date. It's terrible
yeah.
news.
With people that don't really follow anything that's kind of alternative to the mainstream society, the norm, whatever the norm is, it is, that's what fascinated me with marketing, kind of seeing the actual power behind it. So yeah, filmmaking is kind of an avenue of that, but behind that there's something else. There's this agent of it, I suppose, which is the marketing itself. How do you kind of like tailor what you're selling? So even like filmmaking, it is all one big like advert, basically. I think, is it Wicked out now? I've already seen like dolls out and like other merchandise and things. And I mean, the films only hit cinemas, so you can see that most films now, they're not about story, it's about like the products they can sell with it, the franchise kind of thing behind it. So in terms of like, my ideal would be like, we don't use marketing, but I don't know if I can say that, because like that's my industry and career and things. So it's all about that balance and things, and just getting to the point where not everything is about like buying and selling, because I think that's kind of like been part of the colonial thing, that's kind of enslaved the world, is this thing that everything needs a price tag, even people. So yeah. So in terms of that, my ideal is people just create and just share, and
Mhm.
there's no talk of like money and things like that. It's just kind of like sharing. And if you get inspired, fantastic. That's kind of like the I think that's more valuable than like any monetary thing, is inspiring someone to either keep on keeping on, or just kind of create and do it themselves, kind of thing. Empower people. That's kind of like the goal
Yeah,
behind my thing, anyway, hopefully.
I love that. I wanted to
I love that.
leave a message to the future version of John, which is this was the moment Leah gave you the idea of writing John Binnie the movie.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, don't do it, John, don't do it.
I
But
know some people.
Do
Might
it, do
that's right, yeah.
it.
But who would play me? I know.
play yourself. That'd be quite
So, so unusual
Inception.
for me. Um, and I really love that this acknowledgement, like you draw us to the dark side, right? The darketing, which in many respects helps us understand, what we don't want, and what when we discover, and you've touched on it a few times, like the different kind of nefarious, these intentions behind it, which are not obvious, right? Um, are are helpful to see that part of like the human psyche, the human condition, because then we can say, okay, here's like everyone gets to choose, right? Like if you want those the sugared cereal, or if you want to enjoy product placement for 2.5 hours in a movie, or you want to build, share yourself and just share for the sake of sharing because you enjoy it, and you enjoy creating, and then you get the chance of connecting with others who enjoy consuming it, and you can create communities, online and in person. I and I'm reflecting a bit back on some of those comments I said about this fictitious person who was telling you to stop writing songs, was like, hey John, that would be a bit too personal. Um, Personalized advertising with AI. John, stop writing songs. But that I have got no problem with people saying like things that I don't like to hear.
Hmm.
It's just when the energy is disconnected, when their intention is hidden, and that side of darketing is like the expiry date was like a new thing for me because like I'm 47 and getting started, and it's like I think I passed that expiry date and I've now got a new one, which is sometime after I die. And yeah, I love like this idea that we can bring our energy closer and closer to what it is we create, so that the two feel, when people consume what you're creating, it just feels aligned. There's no kind of left, like Natasha, you were saying, like this kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to do some homework and check out the person I allow into my safe space, into my
Mm-hmm.
social media, is like, is going to be a good fit. And I was fascinated, Leah, in some of the work you've been doing. Like, if you've seen examples of where the energy is like disconnected, especially in the darketing side, and the efforts they've made to try and bridge that, to make it less obvious or to hide the intentions.
Um, hmm, I don't know. It's my thing is creativity is that alchemy element that people have, because I mean we go back to like when we're children and we're making like mud pies and things like that. It's that imagination, creativity aspect. So everyone has that regardless. It's not something that is like this divinely bestowed gift upon people.
Yeah.
So I very much like
Mm.
people to kind of remember that creativity aspect, because that's where power lies, and that's where you can kind of like take a negative. So a lot of people with like heartbreak, they go and write like love songs, and then they become hits, and they've inspired other people. The likes of Dolly Parton, I love Dolly. Like I Will Always Love You. That was heartbreak over like a falling out with her manager, I think, at the time. And in the same day, she wrote Jolene. So two heartbreak songs, and they've gone on to inspire people. People get up and dance them. I think it's kind of remembering that whatever is thrown at us, we can either take it, absorb it, become it, or take it and make it into something else. In terms of like targeting, they've done they the ones that kind of know exactly what they're doing, they have played on that aspect and turned it completely on its head,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like taking everything that's good, so everyone's dreams of like connecting and just, not so much the money, because I don't think people actually dream of that. I think they dream of being happy. That's kind of what people
Mm-hmm.
want. So it's figuring out how do you turn that happiness into money. And again, it's putting the price tag on things. And yeah, did that go off topic? I don't know.
No, I think that's the question. So I think that explains why I
Mm-hmm.
like. I'm not going to name the film studios, but there's like a whole, I like action movies and fantasy movies and stuff, and they often show me versions of myself that I would like. I'd love to fly. That's going to be so cool. And it's like it's almost like, and then they make you miserable on that journey to get there. It's like, well, I bought the movie. Now I feel miserable that I'm not that version of me. And
Mm.
but yeah, the opposite is also true, that it's often our misery that creates, like, my misery of
Mm-hmm.
indecisiveness and fear about leaving a corporate job made this new version of me, not the other way around. And it wasn't those action movies, unfortunately, but I still watch them sometimes. So
I think
thank
with
you.
the films, even because I'm like a big comic book like lover, I love the old Spider-Man cartoons and things.
Hmm.
The beauty of the comics were like the fact these were ordinary people, and they were thrown into like extraordinary like events and things. Whereas
Hmm.
the films now, they make it as though these people were born like supernatural almost,
Yeah, that's true.
and it becomes this unachievable goal. So I'm not a huge fan of like the comic book films out there,
Hmm.
just because I think they do play into that darker elements of like you have to be born this way to achieve something, and that's not true. So I think try not to believe everything on the screen, and again it plays into those hopes and aspirations, and either transforming it into the everyday person achieving something great, or just being born great kind of thing. And that's an illusion anyway. So
Well, that's quite funny because you reminded me of a story so my kids are quite spiritually open. And I remember I have two daughters, and there was a stage where they were young enough where they would bath together, and we'd be sitting there, and one would go, "Mom, this person really scares me." And I'm like, "Why do they scare you?" And she's like, "Because all around them is this energy. It's either red or it's really, really dark. And they're always in a bad mood." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "That's very interesting." I'd be like, like everybody's born an X-Man. You know how they have special talents? I was like, you can see people's auras and their energy fields. Everybody can see this, but some people just choose not to see it because they don't want to step into their X-Man qualities or X-woman qualities. But this is what it is, and I use it to explain it. But you're right, there's a very much a big indoctrination, but it's really looking at, okay, how do we, and I love how you repurpose energy. So it's looking at how do we repurpose the story, and I love, and I've also been very lucky to, I did craniosacral therapy for a film director who had taken out his back. And it was beautiful to see how the energy, the vision was almost downloaded to the person, because he says, "I don't know how I do this, but like I direct, like movies happen really, really quickly. There's very few takes. I know exactly what I want, all the rest of that." And it was almost kind of like I could see the download that he was getting, but he wasn't understanding it. And usually in my sessions, I usually say, if I see it, I'm going to say it, because otherwise I've asked, if don't show me if I can't say it. So I was like, so I explained it. He never came back. I think I freaked him out a little bit. But on a bigger sense, the amazing, it is so important for people that are creating content, whether it's movies, whether it's whatever, that it's the intention behind it. It's like you say, it's like, what is it that's coming in? What is it that's being downloaded to share with the masses? Because it really is an indoctrination of the human race, because we all buy into it, right? So it's almost kind of like it's showing those new ideas. It's making things possible for us, or showing what we can attain, which is absolutely beautiful in seeing how those things are channeled. But you're right in checking in, and is it in alignment? Like, is that person in that space of what is the next message? What is the next indoctrination that's coming in? And I think in one way or another, I love that you're saying that we could create content that would empower people to step into their spidey senses. I actually call them spidey senses. They step into that because we all have it. It's just been kind of like subdued, and I love it. Like if we could all just for one day create content that would empower somebody out there, what a massive shift it would be on this planet.
Mhm. I think it's more understanding that light and dark, they are just what they are.
Ah,
And
absolutely.
the dark is there to kind of drive us to not just walk in the light, but also to kind of like experience the light and experience the dark.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think one can exist without the other. So it's nice having this like utopian, bohemian, like frolicking wonder world kind of thing, as this like dream. But that's because the reality around you isn't aligning with that. But I think yeah, it is very much, it's not about that, because that's not other people's intention with it. But I think for people that resonate with that aspect, that this whole reality at the minute is very much tailored around like subduing people, and keeping people under control, because that is basically what it is. So yeah, I think if people can recognize the dark isn't something to be feared, it's something that you can kind of use to propel you to do things. I mean, that's basically the whole principle of life is experiencing the dark and then using that to kind of propel you to like this destination of light or whatever else. But I think if you can get to that point where you're not scared of like these things, because it is energy. I do believe like the dark energy latches onto people, but that's only because we're sponges and we're transmitters kind of thing. So it's only come to you because you're emanating something that's allowing it to come in, and you might not be empowered yourself to kind of like turn and is it capacitors or something? I worked at Mappling years ago. I think it's either transmitters or capacitors or diodes or something, where it takes like negative and positive. It's like an energy circuit board. So we are very much a component in that. Yeah,
I love that.
know.
Yeah.
I had a client recently, and they're a songwriter like me, and in their one-to-one session, we were talking about their like future and their future plans, and they were like lining up for this, like creating this kind of musical retreat, and we spoke about their creative process, and I feel like, you know, many people have, you know, describe, regardless of the art form that you create through through the medium, that there's often people describe, like, you know, receiving art, like it just comes to you, like when you're a kid, like you like the mud pie you were talking about, Leah. It's just like, well, there, you know, well, there was mud and there was me and look what happened. And I love that, on my journey, when I started meditating and started asking for messages, and I didn't even really understand who I was asking them from to begin with. I just started turning these into song lyrics, and I saw this with my client as well. It's like, you know, you could just, because they had this beautiful land and the mountains, like you could just invite people along, get them to like spend a little bit of time with the land, do some meditation, and then do like meditate, write songs and music, or whatever they want to do. And I felt that it was just really important for them to create this space where they could literally just do, you know, they feel safe, and they can just create freely what they want. And yeah, I feel like that's a big change for our world. Now, I know that, I love what you're touching on, Leah, is that there's elements that are attempting to control the world that don't want that. They don't want you to step into your power, because it's almost like it devolves power to each of us. We all become autonomous, you know, happy, sovereign, unique beings, getting to create whatever we want, do whatever we want all the time, and seeing if other people happen to resonate with it or not, or working with others and collaborating with others. Um, and I was interested in your ideas. And I think you covered some of this in a recent video about connecting communities. Like, how do you Natasha and I have been doing it recently in person. We've been running like a couple of hour sessions, doing like readings and clearings for people in a room that we could rent that fitted 12 people, so it was no more than 12. Um, and that was one way of us like connecting with people, and just kind of, I must admit, I was a bit nervous, because I was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm going to be, you know, like called a witch again, and you know, which I'm happy, but it's like, don't burn me at the stake or chase me out the village with pitchforks. Um,
He
that
was
that
like,
kind
I
of
need company. Come along
yeah,
with me,
that's like, come on,
Natasha.
Natasha. That's right. Talk to Natasha first, and but it was really beautiful each time, and very empowering for the people that we stepped over that fear and did it. So that was one way we've tried it. Not many. Well, I haven't tried many others. I'm sure you have, Natasha. But it's interesting, Leah, like your ideas about how people can build communities online, in person, or blends of these.
I think we're at a point we haven't got a choice. I think the energy, because energy needs to flow freely, because it's been monopolized to this darker mass, or just negative.
Mm.
I think it's teetering, and I very much believe in like the laws of like the universe and things. It always has to balance itself out. So we're at that point. We're at the mercy of it all. But I think the point of it is to kind of shift people into I think I don't know, it could have well been before COVID, but for me, I'm very much like a 90s baby at heart. So like I'd play my 90s tunes, and I think there's like that empowerment element to them. um so I think the 90s probably was the closest we got to this like new wave, everyone just kind of freely expressing themselves, and you could see it in like the culture and just how people were. um and then something happened, either the internet, people like damn the internet, but the internet's a great tool for connection. I mean, what we're doing now, that's via the internet. So yeah, I think community is the point that we have to embrace it. We can't shy away from it. You can't really walk in your own lane. I mean, how businesses are, small businesses, it very much relies on community anyway. You're building that community factor, otherwise you won't sustain. It's just how it is. And it's the big corporations that have all the money to spend on adverts and everything else. They don't really care about community. Because they are very much that monopoly energy, I think. Hopefully, like I don't know, I believe like the universe will protect me and things anyway. But yeah, I think just because of how loud everything is, in terms of like what's being put out on mainstream media, social media, like the digital space is just consumed with like this self fear, whatever else. I think it's not so much just turning completely away from like the digital world, because I think that's how you can build community as well. So yeah, I think it's just like the next stage of our evolution, and I think it's kind of like reset almost, because I very much believe time's like a loop, it's not linear. So we're just kind of going back to, and again, it's that circuit board thing where the energy is kind of like been blocked. And it's I don't know, I've probably gone completely off topic. I can see it in my head, so I'm trying to like explain what I can see. It's almost like that dam aspect. The water's just built up and built up, and it's breaking, and community is the only way you can kind of like collect all that water.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of like marketing, like I said, small businesses rely on that community factor. So if you're not nurturing your community, if you're not offering things of value, not just your products or your services, like actual like resonating with people, like you said, John, like explaining your story and just kind of putting it out and seeing who kind of receives it, and connects with it, and then it is very much that inspiration thing. It's lighting the torches along the mountain, I think. I don't know, that's my thing. Some other people might think it's not, it doesn't really matter, like community. So like I've worked in so many jobs, and where it's just kind of get the work done, go home, get the work done, go home. They don't care about you. You just kind of barcode a number kind of thing. And then at the end of that, you have to kind of question, well, what are you actually working for? Are you just working for survival? Or are you working to kind of live? And I think it's through community that you'll find like the stories are out there, and you don't have to pay money to go watch big massive CGI productions to experience stories. Like they're just everywhere. And I find people fascinating to that point, that everyone is kind of on the same journey, but everyone's kind of living like different aspects of it. And I think the only way is kind of like not the only way, but like one of the few ways you can improve your own life is by connecting with people. I think it's very much that connection factor. Just because that's how we're built. I mean, if you isolate a person from society and things, they won't cope. I think I'm not sure if they've done experiments. They probably have. Like that's how dark our world is.
Yeah.
To try and find this proof of how things work. But yeah, I think connection and community is it's imperative to our not survival in like a big, oh my god, we're all gonna like expire and things if we don't connect, but mentally I think that's definitely the case. I think we saw that with COVID. It was very much, maybe that was the experiment, who knows, that isolation factor, to see how well people cope in isolation, and everyone turned online then. And the fact that people still have that kind of like fear indoctrinated sense around them. Like I know so many people now who don't like telephone calls, they prefer texting to telephone calls or like video calls opposed to like in-face meetings and things. And that baffles me. Just because I worked all the way through COVID, so I was still having that connection thing. Whereas some people were genuinely just isolated. So I think it's I don't know because I think you can build digital community. I very much believe that, not just business wise, because everything goes back to like business and like how do we make money and things. I think it's just basic survival. I don't know. Maybe that went off topic. Who knows?
No, it was really helpful. I remember, Natasha,
Mhm.
you were talking about previously about, the world changing, people, you know, your visions into the future and including in client sessions have been like us becoming more like contractors would understand it, or like small business
Mhm.
owners, and then working
Yeah.
together in community with our each of our superpowers complementing each other. And
Yeah.
I had this experience yesterday where all my sessions were online client sessions, four client sessions online, and a recorded meditation to record. But I drove 25 minutes to the local wellness center because I knew that in between each session, I'd get a chance to talk to humans,
Mm.
and the owners were there, and there was clients there, or prospective clients. Everyone's a client to me, and I would just like do that like kind of the opposite pandemic thing, and that often introduced me as like John does reflexology. Oh, Buddy psychic, and I'd say no, it's and he's psychic.
He's psychic. Mhm.
But it was a lot of it. Sometimes I just need to push myself out because if I didn't, I would literally be in my music studio with my little microphone and headphones and a guitar, like I'd take the guitar on and off or put the laptop out for my work, and that would be me. And I feel like there's that strength you get of being able to like share stories and share each other's journeys so much easier in person. But I just can't easily do it in person with the global population. And I have a lot of US and Canadian customers, and I love that reach that digital gives me, but it would drive me nuts if that was it alone. Um, but yeah, sorry, Natasha, I'll let you speak.
No, no, not at all. I'm listening. I absolutely agree with you. And yeah, throughout COVID, it was so important because I still continue to see people. Hopefully the COVID police don't get me, but they like I had people that would be like, because they got to a stage where it's like, oh, am I being irresponsible? Because like I have young kids and I have and my mom lives with me. And so the one day I was like, okay, no, I'm going digital because like luckily I had a separate basement that I could work from because I was in Canada during that. And I remember my one client that I said to him, okay, no, I'm going to go online. And he was like, no. He was like, I'll wear two masks, I'll wear two sets of gloves, whatever you need, and then I was like, no, this is silly. I was like, yeah, just come, and I'm missing that in person. So yeah, I'm very grateful for John creating that, pushing me out there into that community, because otherwise I would be very much stuck in my bubble with my clients also being overseas. And I love the space that I've created. So it's like, why would I venture out there? Kind of a thing. So I love that we're still building that in-person community as well. So I think that's important. I think we've lost touch with that. I think we've even forgotten how to speak to people sometimes, and it's become scary. I remember when we used to do a lot of networking events because I also used to be part of the marketing wheel. And if there was 6 months that I hadn't marketed, like, or been out there in any events, I didn't know how to start those conversations. So I think it's important to push ourselves out of there and into the open. So I love that you're encouraging that, Leah and John. Thank you for encouraging me and inspiring me.
And small talk's your friend as well, right? Like practicing that. Um, my son, age 15, said typically terrible at small talk, but getting so much better. And he said to a friend that came he hadn't seen in a while, and he just said, "How's your summer been?" And it's like you could use that all year round. It's genius, you know. And And I think also just I also noticed in myself, like if you see me walking around the street, and if you see me physically, like make sure I'm not doing this like with my head down. I'm like, please don't just ignore the middle-aged guy with a bit of gray hair, a lot of gray hair. Like just ignore me. That's and now that I'm in a wellness center in a nearby town, and I see them as clients as well, I'm like, I that's terrible, John. Like you gotta be leading by example. And so I like try and stand up a bit tall and I imagine my heart opening up, and I'm like. I'm John Binnie. You know, it's just like that's it. It's just trying not to hide myself, and I love and always trying to smile at
Mhm.
people in a non through your window creepy way.
Mhm. No,
Oh,
I do
bless.
that anyway. I just stand outside people's. No, I don't. I don't.
Oh, bless that comment. It's created some content for us. I
That's
love
right.
it.
Yeah, it's the
That's what I
title of the
mean. But
podcast.
again, that's the power of like changing something. So humor, I love humor. So I do laugh at myself and things. Just because I do, I find myself funny. But that again goes into that like live factor. Like I did theatre and things as well. And I mean you can't beat live theatre compared to like film. It's just like you don't know what's going to happen. There were times I had concussion for one play and I literally forgot what I was saying. I wasn't even sure if the words I was speaking were like what I was supposed to be saying and things, but it's that live, you don't know what's going to happen. And I think if you try and hide behind the screen, you kind of lose that factor of like, oh my God, you might actually miss out on something that's really funny. Or like I went for a walk one of the nights and I just happened to look up and there was the inter interstellar starling something, all the satellites or something that travel. And I
Mhm.
mean that if you're always indoors and not kind of getting out and things, it's not just like going out and just interacting with everyone, because I mean I don't like people for the better part of things. Like just I think from that uh everyone needs something kind of thing. It's that like interacting thing, it does wear me out, so I have to kind of limit my time with people when I'm face to face. But it's that thing of just getting out away from like the laptops and everything else and experiencing the world around you. It's not just people, but like the actual elements.
Mhm.
Like if you can, I know like cities and things. It's yeah, not a lot of people like going out just in the day or nighttime, just because of pollution or the noise. Because I think we're very sensitive, so it's very much. I don't know. I think I've just rambled and gone off completely off
Keep
topic.
going.
Yeah,
I
Keep
love
going, keep
it.
going.
But it's going so well.
I'm like my coffee I think is nearly gone as well. So I don't know. I think we're just kind of missing out. The more we spend isolated and on phones and laptops and things, we're missing out on the world around us. And,
Yeah. And
yeah.
you picked up on like the sensitivity is really important, right? Because in Natasha and I's field, like our domain of
Mhm.
work, like developing your sensitivity is a real gift because
Yeah.
you can help people with readings and healing so much easier. And yet we don't realize most of the planet doesn't really realize how sensitive we really are and how good that is.
Mhm.
And so we'll often turn up in front of each other almost like projecting onto each other, like, well, like Natasha was saying earlier, like, oh, you must have all your crap together because, look, you've got headphones and a t-shirt that says John Binnie. And I haven't got any plan. I have no idea what I'm doing beyond today. But it just feels so good and so exciting. And that the energy that we project onto each other is often like, well, the other person must, they're talking, they seem to be smiling sometimes, they seem quite confident in what they're saying, they must have it all together. And it's like
Mhm.
where it wears each other out, even though people's intention could be, I wish I just get past the small talk and talk about some things that really matter to me. My last summer was great, but I want to talk about what I'm going through just now.
Mhm.
And I know that in a city it's so amplified as well, right? Everyone's like, "Gah!" It's like just there's so many humans. And I love like just starting. I think there are some simple things we can do, like just smiling at people sometimes, like just be human.
Mhm.
Like there's all these things about humanity that we sometimes just forget that are so simple. Or when someone really needs it, ask them permission and in a non-creepy looking through the window way, just say, "Would you like a hug?" You know, that it's okay to do that. You know, that it's okay for us to help each other. Um, Now I feel like I'm going in a rabbit hole.
It's all
I
good.
think that tied it up nicely. I think it is very much that thing everyone. Because my thing is, I know people feel the energy of things. They might not be able to kind of like interpret it or kind of like say what it is, or they do actually express it, and that's usually when they're angry and frustrated and things, and they don't have that self-awareness. So that's kind of for me where sometimes it gets draining because you're dealing with people that aren't self-aware.
Mhm.
And really, are we in the right to try and make people self-aware? I don't know, but that's where I think if you're just doing your own thing, you'll kind of build your community that way. Because like I said, that's what I can kind of see in my head is like this mountainside and like torches being lit. It's very much that kind of like light the way for other people that might be lost and things, without being like these CD companies where they go out and like collect people and then lock them up in this fear prison kind of thing. So yeah, I mean I love people. Just I can't really switch that off, even though like as a species I think we're like so destructive and things. So it's very much like that love hate factor, hate aspects of our species. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
love
think my
that.
caffeine's gone.
I think I read somewhere it's like we need to be like lighthouses and shine our odd light out there to attract those that are attracted to it. So just completely be unique, be yourself, and just shine that light of yours that is, it will become a beacon for those that are ready for that. So I think
Mhm.
that's important. And I love how you've completely said completely to be unique, be yourself and be authentic. I love that.
That's like
Always.
can be, isn't it? Like I mean, you can try and fit the molds and things, but that's usually when you end up with like, especially because I've experienced it now, like the corporate side of things, where you kind of do shift into this. It's almost like taking on this character, and it's not you. And it does lead you to burnout because the more you kind of embody it, the more you're kind of like abandoning yourself as well.
Mhm.
So it will just kind of lead to either depression, burnout, existential crisis, which is funny enough what happened with like the acting. I was kind of it was becoming something that initially was like, this is amazing. It's connecting so many different creative people. And the people have this common goal of like telling a story kind of thing, to this thing of like everyone wants to uh, make an award-winning film, win an award, get spotted by like a top talent agent, maybe get sponsored and go to America. That's like the UK, the industry and things. And really, who are you within that? I do look at some of these like I call them Holly weirdos now. Like not all of them are like it, but the fact that they're in it, I think they're either aware of it or not aware, but they've embodied this thing that isn't them. They've abandoned themselves almost, and it's like, well, what have you achieved? You've achieved a nice house, maybe you've achieved like money, but now you can't walk down the street without people like mobbing you and trying to get your autograph. And it's not because they care about you as a person; it's because they care about what they can get from you. It's so yeah, I think if you can, that's like the goal is to kind of align with yourself to the point you nothing sways you, not even like a troll on the internet, a troll or like industry external factors. And then when you're so grounded in yourself, you'll meet other grounded people, or you'll kind of inspire other people to start that journey within themselves. So yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
I think that's a great summary. Shall we meditate?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's jump in. It'll be just a short meditation. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Leah. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Keep listening.
Okay, let's close our eyes. Let's take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Using your breath as a clearing agent. As you exhale, release the tension, the stress of the day, or of the tension, the stress that started to build up around the day you're about to face. Just release, let go. Allow your body to relax. Drop the facial muscles, relax the shoulders. And continue to breathe deeply and completely, opening up the chest. And bringing in calm throughout your entire body. As we continue on this short meditation, allow your breath to continue to release, remove, and dissolve all low vibrational frequencies that we hold within our bodies, within our minds, within our emotions, letting go of what no longer serves. And I'd like you to bring your attention to the soles of your feet. Open up the energy centers on the soles of your feet and allow the exchange of energy between you and Mother Earth. Absorb that life force energy that she provides that brings life to all things. Bring that energy into your body, allowing it to ground not only into yourself, but into the planet. Allow this energy to nurture, to refresh. Breathe life back into your body as you feel connected to all things. Feel alive once more. Being completely grounded, let's connect in to the energy perhaps of the central sun. Call forward this golden energy, this energy of unconditional love, compassion, this energy of Christ consciousness, expansion and ascension. Breathe in this energy into your crown. Allow it to open up your connection to your higher self, your I am presence, your guides, your angels, your own Akashic records and creator. And allow this energy to move down into the center of your mind. Allow it to activate your seat of intuition, bringing in clarity, releasing the veils of deception, the veils of manipulation, bringing in clarity and awareness so that we can see beyond what is being presented to us. So we can see the intentions and allow this energy to continue to move down into your throat, clearing your avenues of self-expression so that you can express yourself authentically without fear. And allow this energy to continue to move down into your heart space, activating the unconditional love within. As it continues to move down your spine, activating your energy centers, bringing in the empowerment and the strength to speak your truth and express yourself, the ability to bring into existence that which you envision for yourselves, activating the trust within ourselves that all will be well as we share and expand and we communicate. Feeling connected to all things beyond time and space. Let's call in our angels of the highest light and resonance to support this energy, this transmission to surround us. As we drop into our heart space, connecting into the heart, ask the heart to reveal, what does our unique energy, what does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Use all your senses. Tap into the authentic version of your energy. It is not a version, it is you. Feel into your divinity, as we are all a spark of creator. And ask yourself once more, by asking the heart, how does it want to express this energy? How do I want to express my authenticity today? And what is the next step that I could take into expressing this so that I can connect to the people that are in alignment with who I am? How do we build community? And throughout the day, continue to ask your heart, how would it like to express itself? How do we express this divine energy that we already are? And allow these indications to continue throughout the day, throughout the week. Expressing yourself from the true energy that and divinity that you already are. Without attachment, to outcome or a result, just purely we're expressing who we are. Give yourself permission to do that. And know that it would be okay. Take one more deep breath, absorbing all of this energy, embracing the expression of who we already are consciously. And we thank all those that supported this transmission, that supported this journey. And we thank all those that continue to support our journey and allowing us to express ourselves authentically. Thank you. Let's take one more deep breath and exhale. And when we are ready, we can open our eyes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. That was incredible. I
Thank
was
you.
like, I had all these ideas, and I was like, I'm definitely going to write some of these down.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and thank you so much for joining us today, Leah. It was really expansive and enlightening, and I felt like the more we talked, the more I just wanted to talk more and more. It would be lovely to have you on again at some point in the future. How can people connect with you and your great work?
I know we're back to self-promotion.
Yay.
I have a website, so that's kind of like the hub for all my marketing stuff. I think I've still left some of my creative stuff on there, but yeah, in terms of like personal social media, I don't really have any, apart from Facebook, and LinkedIn, I suppose, but I mean that's very business, but feel free to connect with me on there. And yeah, obviously my YouTube. Maybe I'll get around to doing more regular videos on there now that I'm not employed by anyone and I've got my own captain's hat. But yeah, otherwise I don't know. I'll drop some links over to you, I think. And
Great. Yeah, sounds good. I'll add them
Excellent.
to the YouTube video and I'll also paste them into our podcasts on
mm,
Spotify and Apple and Amazon. As you discovered, Natasha,
Yes.
it's everywhere. So thank you so much for coming along.
thank you for
And
having me. I've
thank you
really
both.
enjoyed it. Mm,
Yeah, thank you. And we will
Thank
end
you.
our recording. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you again
Thank
in our
you.
next episode. See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye.